We actually did 770 in revenue. So I was able to hire a project manager kind of 6, 7 months into it just because of the massive amount of demand. So the second year, which is 2024, we closed out at 1.1. I had hired an office manager kind of like in January, February of 2024. And then I started the hiring process for a sales rep in March. Third year, 2025, swinging out the gate quarter 1, just amazing. And I hired a second sales rep, second estimator, and we're on track for 1.5.
Hey, it's Hunter with Painting Business Pro. Today I have Michael Sanchez on the show. I'm super excited to talk to Michael today. Michael started his painting company as a side hustle while having a full-time job. And in his second full year in business, he did over $1 million in revenue. And so in today's episode, we go through all of his learning lessons in sales, production, marketing, and team building. There's a lot of great nuggets in here, and I think you guys will really enjoy this episode. Let's dive in. Michael, welcome to the podcast, man. Super excited to have you on today. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's a couple of years.
Yeah, before we get into everything, can you just tell us how did you get started in the painting industry, and how long have you been in business?
So I started it in the fall of 22. So this is 2025 now here, kind of in the fall of 2025. So it's been about three years, 3 full years kind of doing that. Before that, I was just working in construction. I was a project manager. And then before that, I was in the Navy.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So you're in construction as a project manager, working like a W-2 job. And then how'd you get into painting? Like, why painting?
Yeah, so the company I was actually working for was a great company. They had a great culture, which kind of trying to model that here in my company. But just it was so we're building like water plants, water treatment plants, big commercial kind of stuff. And so they don't really put those close to each other. So my drive went from like 45 minutes to like an hour and a half to like 2 hours. I was driving, 2 hours each way on the year that I finally left. So just not being able to spend time with my kids at all. Decided I want to do something a little different. So I ended up starting it on the side, just kind of made a website, put some stuff on for like Angie leads and all these other thumbtacks and stuff like that. And then I would work my job. So I'd have to be at the site at 7 a.m. So I'd leave my house at like 5 in the morning, drive down to the construction site, basically work till 5, drive back. But on the evenings, I would go and do estimates, do that. I did that pretty much 5 days a week and then all day Saturday. And then as I was booking jobs, then I would go and find the crew. So I started off strictly just subcontracting because I couldn't paint myself. I was working a full-time job. So did that and eventually just made the switch. That's kind of how it started.
Nice, man. I love that. So you're basically working your full-time job from 7 to 5, roughly Monday through Friday, and then doing estimates. So the painting company started as a side hustle. You're doing estimates in the evening and on Saturdays, essentially.
Yeah,
and
Saturdays and Sundays. Yep.
Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah. Nice, man. How was that period for you? That's a lot.
Yeah,
job,
it was definitely tough because I went from only seeing my kids like bath time during my normal job to like not seeing them at all. But before I even started the business, part of the reason why I started it was just having a conversation with my wife and saying like, well, what do we want to do here? Like, do we want to just kind of ride this out until maybe we get in a position where you're not so far away, or are we going to rip the Band-Aid off? And we decided we'll rip the Band-Aid off and we'll figure it out. And I was like, well, I don't know how long it's going to take me to kind of start this thing and how long I can transition back to a normal time, but let's just hope it's not forever. Let's just hope it's like 2, 3, 4 months or whatever it is. But we made that decision together and we said, okay, well, let's just go ahead and do it, rip the Band-Aid off. And for a very long time, it was, 80-hour weeks or whatever, which is just funny because then as a business owner, you kind of work that anyway. But when you're an employee, it's totally different because it's like you're not really seeing it. You don't see the fruits of the labor for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So how long were you doing that? How long did you have a job and work in the business?
I want to say it was about 3 months. So it was about 3 months. Yeah, I did that for about 3 months. That's working basically 7 days a week and, spending some time with the family, but not nearly what I wanted. But that was enough to sell some jobs, to get some crews lined up, to produce those jobs, which was very difficult too, because I had to kind of produce it and then kind of spot check it like in the evening and stuff like that, or check it on a Saturday or whatever. And then once that was going to a point where I basically, my transition period was when I realized that it was taking up more than, it was starting to dip into my work time. Like I was getting calls during the work time and I was like, well, this is not going to work, so it's like, I can't be doing like 80% for my company here or, for the company who's hired me and then trying to do my stuff on the side. So then that's when I made the switch.
Yeah, I'm interested to talk more about that point in time where you made the transition, because I think so many people can, a lot of people are in your position a lot of people are in the position that you're describing right now, having a full-time job and determining like, when do I make the leap over to the business is my only thing I'm working on.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. I would say if I could do it all over again, I probably would have been a little bit more intentional about it. Like I would have said, okay, well, I'm going to save up this much more money or whatever, and I'm going to do this much more thing. Instead, it was kind of a gut thing. I would say that I do have a higher risk tolerance than most. So maybe 3 months is not enough time, but,
mhm.
so it's hard to say when is a good time for it. I would say if I was giving advice to myself back then, I probably would have saved up 3 to 4 months of my existing salary. That way it's in the bank, ready to go. And that way, when you make the plug, you got 3 months of working full time in the business. Because if you can build 3 months of your salary part time and you assumingly just do more estimates and do more stuff or whatever, you'll make that up real quickly. But I didn't. I think I had about 2 months of my salary kind of saved up.
Yeah.
And so and plus I did have I have a higher risk tolerance. So I realized like, dude, I'm just going to do it because if I don't jump out of this airplane, like it's probably going to crash. So I might as well just jump out. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say like when's it good for each person. You definitely got to
Right.
have that conversation with like your spouse or whatever. But if you have a couple months saved up and it's at a point now where you're getting so many calls that you're like, dude, I'm missing out opportunities for my painting business. It's like, then that's it. That's it. Because then you need to
Yeah.
quit that, do those estimates, produce those jobs, and then, you can keep going. If it hasn't
Yeah.
reached that point yet where you're getting a bunch of calls interrupting with your W-2 job, then just save up the money. Just build up a bigger nest egg. If your risk tolerance is lower, 6 months, I think I've talked to somebody saved up a whole year worth of, I mean, that's awesome. A year's worth of salary you can mess up and still run it. That's great. You can totally do that. But ultimately, if you're doing things right, you're kind of, you're better off just doing it full time. Like you're better off doing it time. The industry is just so massive. You're missing opportunities if you're, just not picking up the phone during working hours because you're on your W-2 job. Like those are just jobs that you're just absolutely leaving on the table.
Totally. So when you made that transition over to the business full time, how did it go? How were your initial results the first 6 months and the first year?
Yeah, so I did it. Here's the other thing too, is I wouldn't do the transition in the middle of winter, which is what I did. But I would do it like kind of in the spring because then you can ride the wave up. But it went well. I mean, for the fact that being winter, it went really well. Like I was able to still book jobs, still sell those jobs, still produce those jobs, while still making a little bit more than I was making at my W-2 position. So overall, it was just a win because even if I was making the exact same, I was spending more time with the family, which is a win anyway. So, but the fact that I was making a little bit more, and the fact that it was just a kind of like starting a new chapter. So like into the winter, then I started, like I was basically full time for January 2023. And it was nice to kind of sit down with Eric and create a business plan of what I thought the first full year was going to go. And then just doing it like that. So I think that was like, that transition went well. Like I really don't think there's, anything I would have done differently.
Yeah. Nice, man. It's inspiring. Um, so what did you end up doing your first full year in revenue?
So for 2023, we actually did 770 in revenue, but that was so I was able to hire a project manager kind of 6, 7 months into it because of the massive amount of demand. Like I wasn't able to do as many estimates, or get to as many calls because of that. So I had to hire the project manager. And so because I had that production kind of separated out by July, he was able to be full time, and I was able to be full time sales. And so we pushed up to 770.
That's amazing, man. Honestly, like 770,000 in your first year of business in our industry that's a lot more than we generally see. I'm curious, how did you generate that much demand that quickly?
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just, so I will say that I started the website. So the website is not to get into marketing, but website and SEO is a long-term play because it takes months and months of doing SEO. So I started it when I started the business, and I started the SEO kind of right in, and I wasn't really getting anything out of it. But I think by springtime, which is, I guess, 6 months later, which is only 3 months into the new year, the first business, it had picked up. We were getting, 5, 6, 7 leads a week kind of thing just from that. Plus, we still had the lead services, Angie Leads, Thumbtacks, all that. That was still on. What else was I doing back then? I think that was it. I think just those three things was enough to plus referral and, putting yard signs up and stuff like that.
Yeah, nice, man. SEO plus some lead services and referrals. Amazing first year. And then, so what did you do your second and third year? Or what did you do your second year in business? And then this would be your third full year in business. And what are you trending to do this year?
Yeah. So the second year, which was 2024, we closed out at 1.1. I had hired an office manager kind of like in January, February, of 2024. And then I started the hiring process for a sales rep in March. And we can talk about this, but it took me a very long time to find a good sales rep. And so I actually didn't hire him until like August. So I found that guy, I hired him in August. So he basically was doing a little bit of winter estimating. That was it. So, but we were able to do a 1.1 and produce that. Well, I guess we sold 1.2 and we produced 1.1. So that was our second full year. And then this is third year, 2025, hit swinging out the gate quarter 1, just amazing. And I hired a second sales rep, second estimator. And we're on track for 1.5.
Awesome, man. So 770 to 1.1, and then this year's trending for 1.5. Really amazing growth, man. Congratulations on the business. That's awesome. How quickly it's happened for you. And, yeah, it's really cool to see.
Nice, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's dive into some of the things you struggled with early on that you feel like you've grown a lot in. We were talking before this, one of those things being sales. So tell us about your sales, how you started off, in terms of sales performance, and like what your view was about sales and how that's transitioned over the last couple of years.
Yeah. So, I don't have a sales background. I have more of like a management production background. I mean, I was a project manager. Before that, I was in the military, basically like running crews. So it was basically, production was my hat and sales was not. Before I started the painting business, though, I did have a little side hustle, like flipping houses. And so that was kind of like my first foot in the door when it comes to sales, because, I'd put a website up, people would call and be like, hey, we want to sell the house. And so I'd have to go there and talk to the homeowner and convince them to sell me the house for a lower price and so I can flip it. So I did that for about like 6 months. I sold like 4 or 5 houses, made good money, but it put a bad taste in my mouth because, ultimately some of those transactions was a result of like, they might have felt a little bit ripped off because, I was flipping it and, making more money or whatever, but I was doing the work for it. And I think that put a bad taste in my mouth for sales because I don't think my mindset was right when it came to sales. I felt like it was a give and take instead of like a win-win. And it really is a win-win. But that wasn't my first kind of interaction. So I always thought like, I'm going to go and give an estimate to the homeowner and I want them to hire me, obviously. And so I try to kind of convince them to do that. I thought sales was totally different than what I actually see it is. And so my sales rate was not great. It was like 35% when I first started, which I guess is, some people I don't know. Some people say that's good. I mean, I think it's good enough to scale, just was not good enough for where we needed it to be.
Yeah.
So I had to learn. I had to learn sales. I had to put on that hat of like, what is it that I'm not getting that's making me fail at this or not succeed as much as I can?
Yeah. And what were some of those things? Like, talk to us about the learning process of getting better at sales.
Yeah. So I would be super uncomfortable kind of sitting down with the homeowner, like face to face and asking them questions about, it's easy to ask them questions about like, well, what would you like painted? And what's your timeline? Because those are very non-invasive questions, but talking to them about like, what's your budget? What did you think this? Why'd you call us? What makes you think that we're going to be a good fit for you or vice versa? Like those are kind of uncomfortable questions. But they're really just meant to get to the heart of like, are we the best fit for each other? And can I provide you a service that you're going to be happy with? Because if I can't, we shouldn't try to play this dance because I don't want to, if you want me to paint an accent wall, it's going to be a very expensive accent wall, right? Because I'm going to charge you the full 8 hours. But like finding that uncomfortableness and sitting it there, I think that was one of the key things I had to do. Instead, I would let the customer drive the estimate, which is I'd show up and I'd shake their hand and say hi and how you doing, and then if I wasn't able to ask to sit down and they were just very quick about it, like, oh yeah, let's just go take a look at it, I would just, okay, yeah, sure, let's go take a look at it, and I'll take the measurements and I'll try to ask some questions along the way. Now I did present always on site. So that was one thing that probably kept it from being in the low 20s.
Yeah.
But ultimately I knew that I just was not good at sales. I just was not, I wasn't able
Yeah.
to convince people that why, or the value that I was bringing to do it. So, I think learning a good sales process and saying and understanding that if you don't drive the bus, the customer's going to drive the bus. And it's not that we don't trust a customer or want to drive the bus. It's that they paint their house once every 7 years or 10 years or ever, or sometimes it's their first time doing it. So they don't know how to drive the bus. It's like I paint houses like 5, 6, 7 times a week. So I know what to look for to make sure that we're going to do a good job. And if we're not, then I point that out. I'm just like, hey, this is not a good fit. You're asking me to do something that's a handyman's job, or, oh, we actually don't know how to repair stucco. Let me just give you a referral and I can help them that way. But if learning how to like take control of the bus to make sure that everyone's happy on the ride was the kind of, I think, the game changer for sure.
It's a very subtle thing, but it's a huge thing in sales. Yeah. When I think the way it occurs to the customer when you're not the one driving the bus, as you're putting it, you can occur to the customer as like, just not professional or not confident. And maybe this isn't my person to paint the house. Like, I'm just not so sure. I think there can be little seeds of doubt planted in the customer's mind I just don't know if this person is the person for the job.
Yeah.
Whereas on the flip side, when you take control of the estimate, not in like a completely dominating way, but you're leading the estimate. We have definitely found that too, that can really elicit trust. It can really build trust with the client and leave them feeling settled that they're hiring a professional to do their job.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think if you don't lead the estimate, maybe not take control, but lead the estimate, they may think that they have to put their project manager hat on. Like they're going to be calling you to see what time you're going to get there. And it's like, you don't want, just like for the estimate, you don't want them driving the bus. You absolutely don't want the customer driving the bus for the paint job. Again, because they just don't know what to do. And then they're going to be like, oh, you got to do this and that. And it's like, that's not the sequence. So you have to drive it in the beginning so they can trust you to drive it during production.
That's amazing, man. What, just curious, like, do you remember what switched for you? Like, what made that mindset switch?
Probably the multitude of books I've read. Definitely PPP's coaching for sure, as far as like putting the customer's needs first and understanding that conversation that you're having at the table is not a confrontational conversation. It's a conversation of discovery of like, what do you want? And, oh, okay, you want this, but you want it with this budget. All right, well, we can do this. We can do this much work in that budget. Or do you just want to phase out the project? And, maybe, and I've had to do that where it's like, hey, we'll just paint these 2 rooms for you. I know you want to paint the whole house, but, your budget said is kind of in line with these 2 rooms. And ultimately, if I can't paint 2 rooms and you're happy with it, you probably shouldn't hire me to do the whole house. And so we've done that where I've kind of downsold them a little bit so they can get some trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the game changer was just like coaching for sure. Lots of coaching from y'all, from different mentors, books. Now at the time I didn't have a sales coach. Now I do have a sales coach. And so I've used him to kind of learn how to teach my estimators too. Cause it's one thing if you know how to do it, teaching it's very different.
Yeah. That's great, man. Um, yeah, it seems like you have a mindset around like seeking out and paying for coaching. I mean, you joined Painting Business Pro. You just said you have a sales coach. Talk to us a little bit about that. How do you view investing in those types of things?
Yeah, it's exactly how it is. It's investment. Yeah, yeah. I don't view it as a cost. I view it as an investment. In fact, what I do is like on my P&L, I have all the coaching that we do and like whatever, and I count that as like it would have been this profit because it's not a cost to me. It is literally an investment for the future. And so, yeah, I think that's how I view it. And for me, it's everyone has something to offer. I mean, I've learned stuff from guys smaller than me, or just starting out, or even like my own painters about processes. That it's like everyone has something of value to offer, whether it's in business or life. It doesn't mean you have to follow all their advice in every aspect of everything, but there's usually a couple things that people do well. And it's like, just steal that. Like, you know what I mean? Like rip off and duplicate, like R&D. Like that's works. I'm going to use that. That was one of my painters. Like he was telling me, this guy's been doing it for like 30 years. He was saying that he made a system where they would ask the customer, like it was his business, but he would ask the customers to leave all the pictures on the wall that they want that we're just going to take and put it right back on. So what he would do is he would start the job and take a picture of it, take the pictures down, paint around those little anchors, and put it right back up. But if the customer had a painting that was down or a picture frame that was down, and when you showed up, you just see like the nail hole, he knows that we're going to spackle that. And it's just an easy system where you can just tell that, and it's easy to communicate to the customer. It's like anything you want existing on the walls, leave up. Anything you don't, take off. It's like, okay, that makes total sense versus like blue taping all this crap. It's like, so that's something that, I absolutely stole. I was like, that's a great idea. We're going to do that, so
Yeah.
that's how I view it. I view it like everyone has a lot to offer. And you just got to find what works and take it.
Yeah. Many, many, many of these problems have already been solved. Practically all of the problems in this business have already been solved to at least some degree. So it's a matter of finding what works and implementing it. Totally. Awesome, man. So yeah, you had much more of a production background. So I imagine production came quite a bit more natural to you in your business. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. So, my previous role was literally a project manager for a construction company, and we did have W-2 employees, but we also had subs. And so, talking to subs, negotiating with subs, I did not see that as intimidating. Although the guys have a lot of knowledge and they've been doing this for 20 years, ultimately the subs' job is to ask for more money. That's ultimately what their main job is because they're not getting their own customers. And so if you understand that, it doesn't have to be, again, doesn't have to be a conflict. It could be just an understanding of like, this is the value I'm providing. This is the value you're providing. And let's drive forward. And if we miss something, we miss something. We'll just, we'll make it right. It has to be, the relationship has to be based off of trust. If it's a constant thing where you're going to nickel and dime me for a thing or whatever that was maybe missed, then it's probably not going to be a great relationship anyway. So it's probably time to move forward. But that comes on both ends too, because if your estimating's off, you got to be held accountable for it. Like, yeah, I totally missed that little closet, and I set it on the work order, but I didn't add it in the hours, so we're gonna make it right, kind of thing.
Yeah. If you had to summarize, like, what are the key things what's at the source of high performance in production? What are the key, 2 to 3 things? What would you say they are?
Yeah, so it all settles around like communication. Like you have to over communicate to the customer, and your guys have to over communicate to you. Like nobody likes surprises in production. like the crew doesn't like surprises. They don't like to show up and the work order is not clearly written. So they don't like surprises. The customer doesn't like surprises, and we don't like surprises. So, it's just like, if you can over communicate everything, then you're doing well. And a good hint of that is like when a customer tells you like, dude, you've texted me like for the last 3 weeks that my job's starting next week. I understand it. It's like, good. I should get some complaints that I'm over communicating. Then that knows that like we're at that threshold where it's too much, slightly too much, but that could be just too much for that person. Other people, like, they don't see the text message or the email goes in spam, and then they finally see this, you finally get the call, and it's like, that is just enough. So over communicating is huge in production. And the other thing too is just like setting good expectations, both on the sales side, but on the production side. And then, that just has to happen at the beginning during the walkthrough. And then last, a little bit of customer service goes a long way. So we do, that we stole from somebody is like a +1 service. And so +1 is something that doesn't have to be related to painting. Although sometimes it is. It's just like, if we're painting all the baseboards in a room and the walls, but the previous painter got like wall paint on the door frame or whatever. It's like, we'll tell just have my crew leaders like tell the customer, hey, just so you know, the door frame's not included, but the previous painter got the wall paint all over it. I'm just going to paint it. We're not going to charge you. I just want to do that for you because it looks like crap and I want it to look great. Communicating that with the customer, not just doing it, is just as important as doing it, because you have to have that relationship with your guys to understand that you're not asking them to do stuff for free. But if they can do one thing, and it doesn't have to be painting, but one thing, then when the customer has some sort of thing of like, oh, what's the cost for this? Or can you do that? It's much easier to have that conversation of, sure, let me call the office and we'll get you a price to add that in, because I kind of already did this one thing for free. So doing that +1 just goes a long way. It doesn't have to be painting. Like, customer pulls up while we're painting her porch and, she has groceries. And so my guys just grab all the grocery bags and bring it in. And so we got a 5-star review from that. The 5-star review doesn't even mention how good the paint job was. It just says like, they helped me with my groceries. They're just so nice. And it's like, that is the game changer for sure. It's like, if you do customer service right, it makes sales easy. It makes marketing easy. So it's a full circle thing.
Hey, Eric here. Pretty much every person that you've heard on this podcast or you listen to is someone that we work with at Painting Business Pro. We've coached. Some of them we've even become business partners with. What we do at Painting Business Pro is help people who are starting or growing a painting company grow an amazing business with great profit while enjoying an amazing lifestyle along the way. And transparently, our goal is that for the right people, we actually end up making a minority acquisition to help you grow your business even further as a partner of ours in our company. If you're someone who's serious about growing your company, living a great life, and you want some help doing it, we love what we do. We're very good at it. We do it in our own businesses right now. Head over to paintingbusinesspro.com and hit apply now, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
I love that, man. I'm 100% with you. That's fantastic. Curious how you go about communicating that with your crews. Like, how do you enroll or empower your crews to get behind doing those small things, like helping the client bring their groceries in or painting that extra door frame? Like, what do you actually say to them? How do you enroll them in that?
Yeah. So our crew leaders are called job leaders. I mean, it doesn't really matter what they're called, but just so all my job leaders, we meet up on Wednesday, 7 a.m. before we start our jobs at 8 o'clock. So we have like an ops meeting on Wednesdays. And part of that ops meeting is a quick job report of the reason why we do it on Wednesdays is because Mondays, usually people show up late at 7 o'clock in the morning. I used to do it on Mondays, so that was a lesson learned. So we do it on Wednesdays because we already have a job that's started and they can have the bandwidth to understand, like, how's it going? What's the progress going to be like? Are you going to finish on time? And what's the customers, how's it going? Are they happy? Are we going to be, doing well at the job? And so that's communicated then. Like, what's the +1 that you've done either Monday, Tuesday, or that you're planning on do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the week-long job? And just constantly asking them, like, what's your +1 for this job? I guess I didn't think of one, and da-da-da. It's like, okay, well, it's Wednesday, like, and the job's going to be done tomorrow. So, like, let's figure something out. Let's do it. That, and then incentivizing, this is probably separate, but it does play into effect. It's like just incentivizing for good Google reviews. So if they get a 5-star review, the job leader gets $50 on that, and especially if their name was dropped or whatever. So that's good because now they see that they're investing into the company and they see that their hard work goes noticed. And then, of
Yeah.
course, it's like a little bit of a challenge thing, like how many reviews can somebody get in a month kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I love that, man. The plus one and actually tracking it, or tracking it slash talking about it each week and asking what's your plus one on this job, like on a job by job basis. That's really cool that you have created that you've baked that into the culture. Um, yeah, it's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's, you know, what we're doing is the difference between like somebody who's like painting, like let's say like new construction is their sole job is just to paint, you know, but when we're doing residential repaints, it's like 80% painting and 20% customer service. Like, cause you have to talk to them. First of all, you got to move their furniture. You know, you got to like talk to them and this and coordinate. You have to work around them. Like you can't turn their entire house into a job site for a week. It's like we got to be strategic about what rooms we would do and be like, oh, well, let's do the master bedroom the first day so it's done. And they're not like living in a construction site. So you're asking your guys to do something slightly beyond just painting. And so you got to empower them with the knowledge to do it, the skills to do it, the training to do it, and then ultimately the financial benefit of doing it and paying them more. So definitely our guys are making more than, you know, the guys doing new construction, although that's not saying much, but they are earning like toward the top end, as far as
Yeah.
I think here in the upstate, um, there's a lot of there's a lot of painting companies who use a lot of subs, and we still use some subs. We do have employee crews. And so our employee crews are earning more than almost anybody else, you know,
Mm.
across the board because of that. And so, it's because they have to do 80% is painting and that 20% is customer service. And that's got to be factored into the job.
Yeah. Mm. Totally agree, man. That's fantastic. So yeah, we're kind of getting into the realm of team building. So what does your team look like? You have two estimators, you said earlier. How many
Yeah.
PMs? One PM?
1 p.m. Yep. Yeah. 1
Okay.
p.m. 8 painters in house, W2. And then the rest are subs, which, right now it's looking at like two-man subs and one-man sub that we kind of use as we fluctuate just based on production. An office manager, full-time office manager. She runs all the back end stuff. And then, myself, who basically does, just does team building and maybe some commercial estimating. And then we do have some part-time guys, you know, door knocking and doing stuff like that, but, they're just part-time.
Yeah. Nice. So my question is like what is your overall view on team building? Sounds like you had quite a bit of background before you started your painting company and building a team. So just curious, like, you know, you spoke to a little bit of it there in terms of paying people above industry average, paying people well. What else? What else is in your view about how do I successfully build a team?
Um, I guess it starts with me as like kind of like would I do the job that I'm asking somebody to do? And so the job that I'm creating, whether it's, you know, door hanging, door knocking, or painting, or, the back end office, is like if I was given that job, if I was doing that job and I was paid for that, would I be happy doing it? And, if the answer is man, not really, then something needs to change. Either you need to get paid more, or you need to change the responsibilities, or you need to do something else to make it where it's like this is a good job. This is a great opportunity, at least for the skill set that that person has right there. So it's like that's a great opportunity, and it's very hard to master that. You know, I'll be honest, lots of turnover with the door knockers. And to be quite frank, it's probably because it's not a great opportunity right now. I don't have it where it's a fantastic opportunity. It's probably a good opportunity, but it could be better. And until it's really, really well, I'm just going to keep improving it because that's the whole point is that like every role in the job in the company has to be like, dude, I would totally do this. Like if this was my job, I would totally do it.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's really good uh, lens to look through that. You know, and having the humility to be honest with yourself about like, yeah, this job just may not be there yet, and understanding it actually may be for some people. Who knows? You know, for some people at the stage in their life. I mean, I started out door to door marketing and I was dead broke, and it was like, I don't care what the job is. This is great for me,
Yeah.
full commission, great for me. But the most powerful view to take, I think, is the one you're taking of around like, how can I make this job, this role better? Can I pay them more? Can I restructure their accountabilities? Being really intentional. I'm just hearing you are really intentional about each of the roles within your company and designing them so they're really good roles.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to like what you're saying is like, is this the right person to sit in that seat in the bus? But there's too many variables if you don't know if it's a great job, right? Because if it's a crappy job, it could be that that's not the right person, but it also could be a crappy job. So my idea is that if I make the job really, really awesome and that person still doesn't, then they're just not the right seat. Like we need to move on, find them something else, or they just need to go. But until I solve that variable, it could be, I just assume that it's me, it's the way I've structured it. I got to fix that first. And then if that person's still not succeeding, it's probably them.
Yeah. Yep. Nice, man. What's been your biggest struggle in the team building realm? Like, what's been your biggest hurdle or failure?
Um, I would say the hardest part for me with that I've just recently started to kind of get better at was the painters. So we would have, so we use I started with subcontractors. We basically did the whole thing with subcontractors. But the way I wanted to build the team was build it with W-2 painters. And so my thought process for that was that I'm going to hire these subs. I'm going to use the subs. We're going to do a great job, great relationship. And, I'm going to find the golden nuggets that are out there, these good craftsmen, craftswomen, painters, and only hire them. And it's a different approach because sometimes if you're trying to hit revenue numbers, you just have to hire painters. Like you're going to have to hire them. If you're only going to use W-2, like you'll just hire anybody, like if you have a heartbeat, I need you to paint because I just need to. But if you have subs, you have like a stable leg to be like the revenue can be produced and it can be produced well by professional people. And then I can find the golden nugget guys. Like, I'm like, dude, this guy's awesome. I want him on my team. And it's okay if I only have 3 painters on staff because we still can hit our revenue numbers with the subs. And so by doing it that way, I've been able to kind of be selective of who we hire. But even that, I was having turnover. And I think it came down to like, it wasn't just a great opportunity. So now we've created where it's a great opportunity. And we're about like 60-40. So 60% of that revenue is being produced by W-2 and the rest is like the subs. Ultimately I want it to be like 80-20, like all W-2. And then use the subs for the spring and summer. Just for a couple things. I mean, culture, it's much, for me, I think it's a lot easier to build a culture when it's like, those guys are invested in the company. Like they're wearing our shirts, they're driving the vehicles that are wrapped. Like, they got benefits. It's like, it's just a little bit easier to create that from the top down. We still have great relationship with our subs that we use, but it's like, we're not having like team events with them, unfortunately, because they got their own thing going on and that's totally fine. But, yeah, I think having the turnover with the painters was like, that was my first slap in the face of like, oh, maybe I don't have a great opportunity. And so I need it because, if they're going to go and they're going to go find their own work or go work for somebody else, then by definition, you don't have a great opportunity. And so that was my wake up call of like, dude, don't forget that you got to create it for every role in the company. Yeah. It's got to be awesome for every role. It can't just be like only the top are enjoying and living life and the people on the field are just not happy about it.
Yeah. Again, I just want to highlight, like, kudos to you for adopting that mindset, man. It's super rare. I think a lot of people, it's the easy way to go mentally there is, this person's just, not the right fit, or, this person just is complaining. And yeah, it was a good riddance that they're out of the company. It's easy to just go there. It's more rare to go to the introspective place of like looking inward at the opportunity that I've created and the position I put them in. And that's where all the value is. When you go there, man, that's like where all the value for you to build a stronger company next time, on the next at bat is,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think, it's definitely been a great humbling experience to learn kind of like where there's nobody really talks about the failures. Like, I mean, your own employees aren't going to tell you, you know what I mean? It's like, you got to find out like the hard way sometimes. And you're like, oh, dude, I thought I had it awesome. Like when good guys, when good painters, like good painters are leaving, it's not them. It's not them. You gotta fix it.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good. Awesome. Um, Great. Let's transition into marketing a little bit. So you started off relative really strong, I'd say 770 your first year. You generated a lot of demand. What have you? How has your view changed over the last couple of years around marketing? How has the results changed? How has your view changed? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I think 2023 was just the first year and it was doing well. 2024 is when I started to see that it's the outer bounds of like the ceiling you'd hit. The website works, the lead services work, but you'll have to do something beyond that to get above 1 million. Like you can't just do. And then we have repeat referral, which is actually pretty high. We're at like 40%, which is high for a company who's growing. But we do a lot for referrals. So
Forty
yeah.
percent of your 40% of your revenue is repeat business or referrals.
Yes, yeah, that's how we
Nice,
categorize it. Repeat customer or somebody who referred it. They're under the category repeat referral because they
nice, man.
they they close exactly the same. And so this for me, I don't see the point of separating it out. Plus, it's really hard to do more stuff on the back end. But yeah, so then 2024 is when I kind of like, all right, we need more leads, and so I started doing like Facebook. And the way I started that was I just hired an agency to do it, thinking like, hey, this is like a lead service. Like I'm going to pay them money. I'll give them like before and after pictures. They'll post it, and leads will come in. And it worked, and it worked for a couple months. And then I found like a lot of these leads weren't converting. They're like really atrocious numbers, like 20%, 30% of the leads were converting to actual estimates. And I was like, well, this isn't working. So we would have like weekly meetings or biweekly meetings with that agency, and ultimately I found that I think, and I don't think this is true for every agency because I think there are some great ones out there. I think a lot of these marketing agencies are like one trick ponies where they have something that works. And then they go, I think Eric has said this too, and I've kind of used this framework where they build the company or the service good enough where you can get other customers, but it's never like amazing. It's like, it's good. It's good. They do a good job, but it's not like amazing. And so then the idea for their growth is just to get more customers. And so they have like the one trick pony or whatever, and it worked and we got leads. And then after that, there's nothing. So I had to fire them, hired another Facebook agency, same thing, lots of leads for like the first 2 months, killing it, and then little to nothing. And so I had to transition that way to figure out like, what are we going to do? So I took over the Facebook, kind of source and started doing my own thing with it. I think Evan's been a really big help. He's in PPP. He does like the classes, and so that's helped a lot. And then I did some other stuff. We started doing door hanging, started doing some door knocking, stuff like that. And then that was like the tail end of 2024. And going into 2025, I kind of created this whole thing about what's our marketing plan going to be? What's our cost per channel? What are we doing? And overall, we're growing over year. It's working great. Not hitting numbers we'd like, but maybe I just kind of overestimated what we thought we could do. But we're doing a lot. We're doing, we're doing direct mail. We're doing, we got the website. We got repeat referrals. We got door hangers, door knockers. So we're doing it kind of scattered everywhere and monitoring it. Overall, it's coming out to about like 7-8% cost of marketing, with some of them being at like 15 and then some of them being at like 2. So it kind of all washes out to about 7 to 8. So we're hitting the numbers. And, but the biggest thing I had to learn was that, if you're just going to sit back and wait for people to call, you can do well. But it's really hard to grow. Like you have to get out there and get customers before they're thinking, or slightly before they're thinking about paint jobs. And so that you can do that with door knocking, you can do that with mailers, you can do that just so it's there and it's sitting on their counter and they're like, I'm going to call that guy in a week. And then they call you first. versus like Googling and findings and then catching the tail end of like, yeah, you're our seventh estimate. It's like, oh man, I wish I could have caught you 4 weeks ago, because it's a lot easier to kind of show that value when you're there first.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So you had just mentioned in 2025, going into 2025, you created like a marketing tracker of some sorts. I'm just curious, when did you start tracking your results by lead source for marketing? Is that what you meant,
Yeah.
2025 or?
No. So I started doing that, like the lead tracking by source. I did that from the beginning. Like,
Great.
yeah,
Nice.
BV has that little template where it's like, hey, put the website this and track what the cost was, how many leads you've gotten, estimates this, what's your return on investment, what's your cost per lead, cost per estimate, all the numbers. That was done. But that is that's a rearview mirror. I mean, you're just looking at stuff, putting it in and seeing what happened. Marketing plan is like, what's it going to be? Like, what am I actually going to do and project it forward? So that's what I created. And, yeah, and then that's been really helpful. Like, how many mailers are we sending out next month? What are those mailers going to say? And who are we sending them to? And what is my projected cost for return on that? Like, that all has to be planned out. You can't just decide tomorrow to send out 5,000 mailers. It's like, who are you going to send it to? What's the content? Like, all that has to be planned out. Um,
Hmm.
so that's kind of that was the change.
Yeah. Got it. Makes total sense. Yeah. It sounds like you guys are getting the most traction I mean, you guys are getting a lot of traction on referrals and repeat business. 40% of your business is that, in a growing business, that'll do 1.5 million this year. So you've already touched in this conversation earlier about a few things you're doing, the plus one on every job. Curious, anything else to add that you guys are doing in terms of generating referrals and repeat business in addition to the great customer service and the plus one?
Yeah. So asking for a review at every job. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
that is the coal in the fire to keep the train rolling. So, doing that. So I think we had like 177, Google reviews in 3 years. Um, and it obviously depends on, like, you got to look at who the competitors are and stuff. I think our closest competitor has like 200 reviews, but they've been in business 10 years. And so we'll catch that number up like in 6 months if the way that we're going. And so that's a game changer. It's also a game changer on the back end for Google, because the frequency of your reviews is just as important as how many you have. Because if your last review was 6 months ago, Google kind of like downranks that. So if you're getting some every couple weeks or every week, you're getting something, they're just going to bump you up. And so that kind of feeds back into SEO a little bit. So that's helpful. As far as like getting good reviews or like getting the repeat and referrals, um, so after we're done with the job, I have my estimator do it like a touch point call, like usually like 2 weeks pass or 3 weeks pass, and just say something like, we kind of use it as like a quality control thing. Like, hey, just everything's good. Your invoice is paid. How is the paint job? Like, is there any touch ups because if you catch that, it's better than catching it when it's a warranty call. And then if that works well and that conversation doesn't, is like, there isn't any touch ups, then it's kind of like, great. Do you know anybody else who is thinking about getting a paint job? So sometimes it's almost like a little bit of a little mini reactivation where you're soliciting a customer to kind of refer somebody. And sometimes that doesn't work out. Usually, goes to voicemail or whatever. You send them a text, but occasionally it does. And so that's a customer. It's
Yeah.
hard to track. I guess I don't have the numbers on like how many calls we're doing versus how many of those are leading to it. But ultimately, the net is 40% repeat referral.
Yeah. Nice, man. That's great. It's a great little system. One last touch point, making sure everything, first of all, from a quality control standpoint, making sure that they are totally happy. Um, and then, yeah, assuming they are, then one last ask. It's great. Nice, man. Awesome, Michael. Thanks for sharing all that. It's fantastic. Yeah, you've got a great business going. Really cool to see from the out. Just so you know, from the outside looking into your business, it's like, man, a lot of great things happening, and this was awesome to be able to see into your mindset a little bit around certain things. Production, sales, marketing, and yeah, I can see why you've built the business you've built so far.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, it's great to kind of like share because everyone's at different stages. And I'm sure there's people in either right in my stage or right before to kind of say like, what do I do to get to there? Or how does that work? And there's obviously a lot of room for improvement, a lot of room to grow and stuff. The guys that I'm hanging out with are the guys doing, way bigger, way more painters, way more numbers. And so picking their brains is just as helpful.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you for your time today. It was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Hunter.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a quick review for the podcast and what you gotten out of it. It helps our show reach more people and inspire more people. Thank you so much.